What's up, everybody? Here we go. Got myself a bass guitar. The guy decided to make it fretless, so he took out all the frets and did some body work there where the pickups are. I went ahead and sanded down a little bit more, did a little more finessing on it, and got it all ready for primer. Sanded the whole thing down with 120, laid it on the table, put down some 2K primer, let it sit a good day, get hard, and then I start to sand it on down. And once I roughed the whole thing up, got it stuck out in the booth, got it ready for the sealer and the base color. And I'm really only doing repairs to the front side of the guitar, so I just laid it on the table, lay down my sealer, lay down my base, and then I'm going to feather around the edges after it's dried. And when it comes to repairing guitars, it's really hard to find an actual color code or anything like that. You just kind of eyeball it and get as best as you can close to it. So right here, I'm kind of mimicking what was on it, and this is like a House of Color Brandywine candy base coat. I mean, it looked close enough, so I went ahead and sprayed the center of it, back tape it. Everything's kind of taped in layers and everything like that. And then the outer edges of it, it looked like a marbleizer, but it didn't seem close enough to a real marbleizer. And I kind of figured they just blasted it on like I did here, really put it on wet, and just took a rag and dabbed it to give it a weird texture. And truthfully, it looked pretty good, so you couldn't tell from the front from the back, so I lucked out on that one. Just make sure it's nice and wet and thick, so when you put it on there, you can kind of push the metallics around inside the rag, and it looks good. Go ahead and dust around the edges so it kind of like starts to darken. Looks like it's going behind the center stripes there, so see how it goes. Just to feather it all out, I dust a little black around all the edges. Like around I was talking earlier, how I laid it on the table. Now I just pick it up and just spray around all the edges to kind of make sure the front blends into the back. Untape it all, and now I'm doing the tedious part of taping up where the frets are. And because in my mind, I did not know what a fretless bass guitar was, so I just kind of was like, you know what? I don't know if he's putting the frets back on or not, because, apparently I just didn't want to Google anything. So I just kind of did a little dusting of where the frets would have been, and that kind of helped me disguise the little lines of where the frets were from when the primer didn't fill it up all the way. And it looked really good, and it was a surprise, and he loved it. Just doing a little added to the top of it, just to kind of give it a little pop, so when it hits in the sunlight, it doesn't take long to put a little piece of tape around and edge it out. And right here, it's the straight candy Brandywine. I just went ahead and dusted over the areas I cut through and blended it out so it all kind of was smoothed out and looked like it was part of the normal job. Dusted over real good, unpeeled it, and then dusted the center so it all kind of matched up and looked like it was all part of the flow. And that's me dusting around all the edges again, so from the artwork from the front, it kind of fades into the back, so it all looks like it was original again. See, can't really tell a difference. Everything looks pretty decent. Go over the whole thing, make sure no weird tape is covering up anything. Everything looks good. Get in the booth. And I know I had terrible lighting in this. Sorry about that, everyone. But I'm putting a candy coat on top of the whole bass guitar to smooth out everything. And this is just 3 colors, everyone. This is just a black base coat with a candy base coat that fades out into the black and a candy top coat, and then clear. And because I don't have any really sharp edges, I just went ahead and wet sanded the whole thing down. Hit it with some 1500 grit, chase it down with some 3000, and then chase it again with some 5000. Get it all nice and smooth, and do a buff job on the whole thing. And don't think just one time around you're going to wet sand and buff it and it's going to look perfect. Sometimes you might have to go over it 2-3 times like I did on this one just to make sure it looks nice and flat and glossy. The front still had a little bit of texture in it, so I had to redo it a little bit more buffing on it, a little more wet sanding. That's why it looks like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. But at the end, look at it. It's like a sheet of glass. It looks good. Customer was happy. Couldn't really tell the back from the front. Once he put all his components on, it looked nice and tight. The gold really set everything off. and the light to dark fade from the candy really set everything off. So another job done. All right, like, follow, subscribe. Later.